January 16, 1945, Sushin Airfield, China. A light wind stirs dust across a strip of packed earth. An American single-engine fighter rolls to a stop, its engine fading to a steady idle. Boots close in. Rifles stay low. A canopy opens. The pilot raises his hands and steps down. He is led away. The airplane remains. What sits on that field is no wreck to be towed aside. It is a complete example of the fighter that had begun to change the war's air mathematics. A P-51 Mustang, Merlin-engined, long-range, battle-proven, from the Aleutians to the Brenner Pass. Its nose art is in English. Its maintenance stencils neat and uniform. The wing roots meet the fuselage with a factory's discipline. It is intact. The Japanese Army Air Force knows what that means. The Americans had learned from a captured Zero in 1942. They flew it, measured it, made tactics from it. Now the tables have turned. The Japanese have a Mustang unburned, unbroken, a prize that can be studied, flown, and understood. The gap between hope and proof is now the length of a runway. In the weeks after the landing, the airframe is made serviceable. Paint changes first, Hinomaru replacing stars and bars. But most details stay. The silver skin remains unpolished. The red dragon's mouth still curls along the nose, a souvenir from opponents who believed in ceremony. Little dots beneath the cockpit mark victories in a language no one needs to translate. The mission is set. The pilot will be one of the best. Captain Yasuhiko Kuroe, 30 victories into his war, has flown and survived enough to know what matters. He climbs the wing, settles into a cockpit built for men of many shapes, and looks over a nose that falls away just enough to show runway. The manual reads one way in English, another in an ace's hands. The start sequence runs without fuss. The Packard-built Merlin turns, catches, steadies, even idle. Low vibration, gauges firm, the faint smell of hot oil. On shutdown, he will see what he already suspects. The places that should seep are dry. In Japan in 1945, a dry engine bay is no small detail. It is the visible proof of things upstream, tolerances held across thousands of parts, seals that fit, machining that meets every surface, and a system that verifies rather than hopes. In wartime Japan, engines leak. Mechanics carry rags by instinct. Fire risk is managed by ritual because the flaw cannot be cured at the factory. The Mustang's engine, steady and clean, speaks of another world. Kuroe takes it aloft and measures it the way a fighter pilot measures an airplane. Not just with instruments, but with his hands. The controls answer evenly from climb to dive. The trim holds. The nose stays where it is pointed even as speed builds. In many Japanese fighters, dives bring buffet and compressibility. Here there is only smoothness, speed, and recovery without protest. He tests roll. He tests turn. He notes what matters most. How well the Mustang keeps its energy. How quickly it climbs again. How surely it carries him out of danger. Kuro's first formal debrief offers praise without qualifiers. In later notes, he writes that the Mustang's turn performance approaches Japan's best, and that in energy fighting, it holds an advantage decisive against lighter aircraft not built for dives at speed. He comments on the radio. His word is simple, excellent. For a pilot from a force where radios are heavy, unreliable, and often silent, that single word speaks volumes. Formations can be directed, vectors passed, warnings arrive in time, generalship in the air becomes possible, not a novelty, but a discipline backed by equipment. He records the directional radio beacon system in an army where pilots vanish in cloud and never return. This steady tone and guiding needle remove an old accepted loss. In that removal lies a new philosophy. Pilots are not expendable, but assets to be preserved. Kuroe was trained to believe a pilot's death is noble. The Mustang suggests a subtler truth, that survival itself can be engineered. When the airplane reaches the Army Air Inspection Center at Fusa, near Tachikawa, the audience is waiting. Test pilots, engineers, maintenance chiefs, and intelligence officers crowd the schedule. The Mustang is flown against Imperial fighters, the Ki-43, Ki-61, and Ki-84. And the results form a pattern. Against each, in skilled hands, the American fighter cannot be forced into a turn fight or trapped by angles. Its performance envelope is broader where it counts. Speed and dive, climb rate through repeated engagements, acceleration when burdened by drop tanks. Japanese pilots grasp the implication instantly. The transition from turning duels to altitude energy combat is no longer theory. It is machinery made doctrine. Another pilot, Captain Yohei Hinoki, joins the test with a singular view. He has fought Mustangs, been shot down by one, and now flies with a prosthetic leg. Climbing into the cockpit, he finds space, pedals reachable, controls natural. Where Japanese designs assume the narrow body, this airplane assumes variety. This is not sentiment, it is a function. More pilots can fly more missions and last longer when fatigue from contortion is not part of the work. Hinoki lists what he considers decisive. The windscreen is thick, its bullet-resistant glass altering outcomes in head-on passes. The seat back is armor, not cloth and tube. The radiator shutter regulates itself, keeping temperature within limits without pilot attention. The oxygen system functions at altitude without constant adjustment, freeing focus for combat. He writes the conclusion his notes point toward. Overall, the airplane is better equipped than any he has flown. On the ground, engineers approach differently. They remove panels and apply calipers, examine engine mount and firewall, note how easily parts come off and return. Wiring is color-coded, clamps consistent. They measure, compare, and find tolerances smaller and steadier than Japan's wartime production can sustain. They record details that would be trivial if not so consistent. The bevel of a gear tooth, the polish of a bearing race, the spring tension of an electrical connector. None are tricks. Together they reveal a manufacturing culture that measures, verifies, replaces, and rejects without hesitation, producing by the tens of thousands while keeping standards intact. They request intelligence on production. Reports arrive. Packard has built and will build more than 50,000 Merlin engines. North American turns out Mustangs at rates that are a sortie surge, over 500 per month by late 1944. The United States has aluminum, steel, tools, transport, and power to sustain this without starving other programs. The comparison that tightens throats is not between airplanes, but between engine types and nations. Japan's entire wartime engine output will barely reach 60,000. One American engine line approaches that alone. The Americans have different help from their politics. War plants are staffed by every kind of worker. Women build instruments and drive rivet crews. Men past draft age take assembly posts. Black and white share lines. Immigrant names fill the rosters. In a war where one side insists that quality comes from purity, the other proves it comes from standards anyone, trained and supported, can meet. When flight trials end, the Mustang is assigned to a demonstration unit to compress what was learned. Kuroe leads a detachment of captured Allied aircraft, teaching formations what to do when chased and outclassed. He shows that turning against a P-51 is an invitation to die, that survival begins with breaking axis and denying geometry. This is not offense, it is endurance. Engineers file their report, factual, unembellished, with range charts and a penciled outline over the home islands. The line crosses ports, bases, and cities. It is not a sketch, it is a verdict. This report moves up the chain. It arrives at desks where men are made to weigh what can be spoken against what must be left unsaid. Words like unmatchable do not fit the official idea that will hold the field. Engineers who sign the report hope it will at least adjust tactics. It does not. Officers who push the document forward are relieved of their posts. Some are moved into irrelevant jobs. The report is filed because in 1945, filing things is what a bureaucracy knows how to do even when it cannot build what it files. The data waits. The demonstration airplane serves until it breaks. A generator eats itself. A replacement is not available. A substitution cannot be made at a standard the engineers will accept because the relevant aluminum and copper of the grade in the American part cannot be conjured. A single assembly, not a gun or a wing, grounds the airplane. The ghost in enemy paint is now a static lesson. In the months left to the war, there are more pressing matters than repairing one unit for one more flight. The prediction written in the margin of a test sheet, this airplane can escort bombers from Pacific bases to the home islands, ceases to be a prediction. Bases on Iwo Jima open, and the map's penciled timeline is overtaken by fact. P-51 units rise from coral runways and fly the missions once imagined. They meet interceptors and fight them as numbers fight, with presence, repetition, and reach. Enough Mustangs accompany enough bombers on enough days to drain the sky of suspense. When the tallies are read, the scale is no longer abstract. The United States has built more than 300,000 military aircraft in 5 years. Japan about 70,000. The P-51 alone exceeds 15,000 machines, more than Japan's 2 most common fighters combined. The American system holds quality while tripling output. The Japanese system unravels under bombing and shortage. Kuroe and Hinoki call it plainly. Kuroe says he fears no Japanese fighter. Hinoki calls the cockpit roomy, readable, assured. The symbol is not in flight but in a crate, a spares pack, sealed, standardized, ready. The sound of its nails lifting is the noise of make many replacing make do. The Packard Merlin is no wonder in isolation. It is the consequence of a stable supply chain with consistent alloys, fuel, and trained machinists. The airframe is not the product of a single genius, but of a firm that adapted a British engine to an American production line and designed a plane thousands could build. The radios were bought, tested, and kept functioning. Such an airplane comes with an embedded assumption: the pilot's life counts. So armor is installed, a radio homing system, an oxygen regulator that needs no fiddling, an automatic radiator shutter so the pilot can fight, not watch a needle. The word connecting these choices to the society making them is not efficiency. It is respect. The Mustang is a machine with respect built in. Post-war analysis done in Tokyo has a counterpart in reports on the Panther's final drive. The Mustang's component life measured in hundreds of hours if maintained. The American figure is not better because Americans are clever. It is better because they chose to build a system, feed it, and prevent interruption. Consequences show in contrast. In 1945, IGHQ cannot tell crowds American gear is superior without tearing the story, keeping them moving. The myth that spirit outruns matter has use and cost. It blocks changes that might have saved lives. Engineers who speak as engineers are branded defeatists. The divide between learning and falling quiet is stark. A captured zero led to pilots taught new ways to live and win. Japan faces the inverse. The captured machine shows enemy strengths or baseline, not quirks. There is no tactic for a 4-to-1, years-long production edge with rails open, sea lanes safe, and fuel in tanks. No dive angle or roll rate closes that gap. The airplane that landed was a mirror. Factories, rail yards, loaded decks, a queue of aircraft launching. The American ghost spoke in material. The reply was silence.